In Chapter 8, we're going to talk about forming partnerships with the media. The media can be a powerful ally or a formidable opponent in implementing the community policing philosophy. Positive publicity can enhance both the image and the efforts of a department. Conversely, negative publicity can also extremely damage a department. Therefore, police agencies can and should make every effort to build a positive working relationship with the media. The police and members of the media share a common goal, and that's of serving the public. Let's talk about mutual reliance of the police and the media. Police departments and individual officers need the media. The media can shape public opinion, and most police agencies are concerned about their public image. Administrators know that crime and police activities are covered by the media, regardless of whether or not the police provide the reporters with information. Most police departments understand that the level of police cooperation will ultimately affect how the public views the police, and at the same time, reporters rely on the police for information. Let's talk about the First Amendment very briefly here. The First Amendment to the Constitution states that Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech or of the press. So in other words, the First Amendment of the Constitution guarantees the public's right to know, and that is the freedom of the press. In fact, our society deems the public right to know so important that the media operate without censorship. But they are subject to legal action if they publish something that's not true. Now, the courts have usually stood by journalists who act reasonably to get information out to the public, but they also have been upheld as far as privacy protections that are fundamental to the Fourth Amendment if they violate someone's privacy rights. Victim Privacy Acts. As explained later in this chapter, the Freedom of Information Act protects the privacy of some people, such as sex crime victims. However, in the midst of the shock and confusion that's often occur immediately after a crime, victims can easily be caught off guard by aggressive media personnel, and they may, without knowledge, put themselves or the investigation at risk by agreeing to an interview. And in all actuality, they're not knowing that they can be putting themselves as well as the actual investigation in jeopardy. Let's talk about conflict between the media and the police. The news media and the police are two powerful forces in our society that depend on one another, but they're often hostile towards each other, and they do mistreat each other every once in a while. A workshop held to bring law enforcement and media personnel together to air grievances, discuss issues of common concern, and generally get to know one another better so that these two groups could work together more effectively. When they understand what one another is doing within their jobs and their parameters, it makes it a lot easier, and this way the conflict will be resolved because they better understand one another. And in essence, this is what we're trying to do, get a better understanding of what's taking place. Now let's talk about conflicts between the media and police, because there are benefits of conflict. Conflict between the police and the media is necessary because each must remain objective and able to constructively criticize the other when needed. Conflict needs to be done in a beneficial way. In other words, it don't need to be dysfunctional. In fact, healthy conflict between the media and the police is necessary, and it's very beneficial to keep the others in line and doing what they're supposed to do and providing the information that they're supposed to be providing to keep the community informed. Let's talk about the media's impact on the criminal justice system, the right to know. Acknowledging the power of the media to shape public perceptions, some have speculated that the media, through their coverage of isolated and high-profile cases, can actually influence the operation of the criminal justice system and even the disposition of individuals' cases. And this phenomenon is called the news media echo effect. So this can cause some problems or it can impact what takes place within the criminal justice system. All right, let's talk about who can speak for the police department. You know, the nature of police business often requires the delicate handling and release of information, and it's frequently difficult and time consuming, particularly for larger agencies, to keep all of their officers equally informed about what details of a case they may provide to the media. Some police departments feel comfortable allowing any member to talk to the media and provide information. However, the trend is for, especially in your larger department, is to designate someone which they call a public information officer to communicate with the media and provide them with the information that they need in order to make an informed decision. All right, let's talk about developing partnerships with the media. In other words, relationship with the community through the media. If you recall from chapter 1, the definition of community policing is a philosophy that emphasizes working proactively with citizens to reduce fear, to solve crime and related problems, and to prevent crimes. So it is a collaborative effort that's founded on close mutual beneficial ties that's between the police and the people. So there's no more effective or efficient way for law enforcement to forge a relationship with the community than to partner with the media. This is going to help both the community and the law enforcement. Community leaders, churches, school boards, teachers, whatever. These things help when we can partnership and share information and come together as a whole. In summary, the police and media share the common goal of serving the public. And of course, the media is guided by the First Amendment, and the police are guided by the Sixth Amendment. Now, the differing objectives in these amendments may lead to conflict between the media and the police. So developing partnerships with the media is critical to the successful implementation of community policing.